Welcome back to another episode of Demons and Gentlemen. I'm TattedAlpha.
Just Greg.
Back at you with another episode. This one's a little bit interesting, I like to think. Oh man, I'm going to sit here and be honest with you and probably tell you that they're all interesting. A little biased here, but I think overall we got a concept with the show and it's interesting in its integrity. But do we just want to dive right in?
I mean,
Do we want to ease in, or do we just
or play a little game of just the tips.
Just
I
the
always
tips.
prefer just the tips.
Just the tips is great.
Just the tips. I mean, we always like a subtle tease, but sometimes, I don't want to hear the ow when I'm forcefully trying to get it there. With consent.
With consent. It's always
Anyways,
with consent.
always with consent. But no, yeah. There's been a lot going on lately.
A lot. There's always a lot going on.
A lot going on. I mean, it definitely, between work and the travel and the personal things going on, a lot, going on that is really difficult to keep up with schedule-wise and trying to remain disciplined throughout the day and the weeks. And sometimes I just don't know how to keep up with all of it, but it's definitely interesting to see how we're navigating it. I think we're getting through it all, but it's good. What's been new with you, Guy? What you got going on?
There's always the temptations, and we don't necessarily mean temptations in the sense of doing things that you shouldn't in relationship standpoints. There are temptations in all regards. I would say the biggest, to touch on what you said about being busy and everything, work. I don't travel to the extent that you do for work. I do all my traveling with work in the truck. This past week, I had to go a little bit further for a job, so waking up an extra hour early.
So what's that like, actually? What does your typical day look like?
So for me, unlike most people that work 8 hours a day, I work a 10-hour day. So by the time I get up, get ready, get out the door, go work my 10 hours, come home, pack it up, get ready, shower, whatever, to chill out, it's been anywhere from 12 to 14, sometimes 15 hours. So very, very long day for me, which is why it's hard for me to want to not be Dracula, as y'all like to say, and leave my my dungeon.
I know it's Dracula has now become your nickname in my phone.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
So
we're moving on up 15 years. I got a new name.
Moving on up in my phone. It's Dracula. No, the only reason I ask is just because I get curious, when talking to really anybody about, what their days look like and how do they manage them.
Yeah.
With, everything that they got going on, because we have so many distractions, that surround us these days. So I know what I do personally and kind of what my weeks look like and how I, plan my approach for the week.
Well,
but you in particularly, I get curious about because of the type of work you do and the hours that you work. And then you also, to some degree, have a condensed week sometimes.
Yeah. So because I work 10-hour days, I work 4/10. So I work 4 days out of the week, and then Fridays and stuff, are overtime days for me. But to touch on backpedal a little bit with the temptations and things like that. So I have various roles in which some of my tasks are. I'm in new construction, so I do a lot of installation stuff when it comes to elevators, but I also do a lot of operating, which sounds great when you talk about the breakdown of money and logistics or whatnot, but that's also a very boring day, which kind of goes into our topic of temptation. So what do I do most of the day? I play games on my phone to try and be a good boy, and then I sit there and watch TikToks like everyone does and scroll Marketplace, and I just deep dive into my phone and I'm buried in it. Not because I want to be, but honestly, I'm just passing the time by. But, with all the videos you see and even whether it's Pinterest or whatever, the pictures, you're force-fed this narrative and this perception of what your reality should look like, what your day-to-day, what your physique, what your mental capacity and everything underneath the sun should be and should look like, and what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. And that's where you really just start to to sit back and you're like, wait a minute, what the fuck am I doing? Am I doing what I need to be doing? Am I where I should be at this age? What can I change? And then that leads to, we all know, the spiral, the demon on the shoulder. And then this guy over here, you know, the quote unquote angel.
Yeah.
He can't be louder than this guy over here most days. You know, it's just, it's an interesting concept, to be honest.
It is. No, it definitely is. And I mean, then some days it is like the angel is louder.
The angel is louder.
It,
and
it
then
just
you're
depends
like,
on the day.
It's a breath of fresh air. But
We could go on a whole sidebar tangent about that. But I know you touched on a couple of things that I just find to be really interesting. Or, you know, the people who, and like I would say even myself, like I fall down as a subject to this sometimes. It's like the stuff that I see online is like people make themselves seem and appear like they always have, you know, their shit together.
No one does.
And half the time I'm sitting there looking like my precious on the couch. And
insert, I'm just kidding. I would so
literally
do that
it's just
to
an
you.
inside joke.
I know the editor.
He sent me a little snippet of me looking like Gollum on the couch one morning. But anyways, no, it's just interesting because a lot of the times you'll start to get in your head and compare and contrast versus what you do versus what other people do. And most of the time I'd say I do pretty good with it. I'll sit there and be like, oh, I actually like that approach. I like what like this person did, or I like what he did, or I like what she did. If I see a lot of the times, like every now and again, something I see commonly are like Sunday reset videos and things like that. And I'm like, honest, I like
those
that.
Are bullshit.
A lot of them are bullshit.
All bullshit.
It's
there
a lot
ain't no
of
way you do that every Sunday.
Some people do.
Praise to you if you do, but there ain't no way you do that.
Well, some
every
people
Sunday.
do. When I'm home, I do it.
The views that you got for that one Sunday reset video, that was a month's worth of work that you don't do every week. I see.
Because if they're cleaning to that extent,
oh bullshit!
Like how do you get it that dirty in a week?
I was just over there last week. I saw them cobwebs sitting in the corner. You fucking
liar. But no. But I will say exactly that, right? And you can, so I like those just because like you can take ideas from and whatnot. But then if my place is not pristine like that, then I'm like, what the hell am I doing with my life?
So then you create this false sense of reality that
in your head,
not living up to standards that you didn't even have set.
Yeah.
A video intern set for you.
That's right. And it was something that I was supposed to be doing leisurely, and now I'm letting it impact my mentals.
Unapplied pressure.
That's right.
That is.
And you know, this applies to a different area too, and I think this is one of the most common ones, but it's something that I think is always an interesting topic, is those people who, particularly from gym communities, and albeit I'm part of a fitness community. I work out regularly. I like fitness, you know, material online. I love a lot of the messages that people put out in it. And then there's this particular group where, you know, they talk about how I post this for me. I post my body because it makes me feel good. This is the body that I've worked for.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people have the utmost perfect bodies too. Like they're living, they're healthy, they look great. And then they're also the people who are brutally damaged up here with self-image problems.
Which, isn't it crazy that it's always like that? It seems to always be that way.
I'm like, you're within like the top like 5 or 10% of the world that looks incredible.
Greek physique.
And you're up here saying, oh my God, I look terrible. And like, you're like, I need Botox, or I need this, or I need that. I look 10 years older than I actually am. And I just can't help but to feel that like that social media aspect to it fuels it. Like
it's a huge driving
because like
factor.
Even the like people who look good, they'll sit there and compare themselves to other people who look good, and then they belittle themselves. And like, what does it boil down to? Like, what are the factors? Like, I have questions. It's not that I'm placing judgment. Like, I'm not judging anybody. I just have questions. Like, what is driving those thoughts on your end?
Whether it's the physical aspect of it, because we all sit here and compare and contrast when it comes to physiques and whatnot, and physical features, you know, nose, face, eyebrows. Like, we all have our quirks of things on ourselves that we don't like. I have several of myself. We all do. but it goes, I think it goes more than just the physical, you know,
Yeah.
the financial, like the lifestyle stuff, the mental aspect of it that people portray online, and how they seem to have everything figured out and everything together. Is that the case? But I try to, so what I try to do, always easier said than done, of course. But you know, like anyone else, I struggle with that, and I find myself in that mindset of, man, you know, I wish I looked like that. I wish my abs were a little bit more chiseled. I wish I had a little bit more tone here. And then that's just the physical stuff. And then you know, I wish I had, you know, I was at this phase in my life where I had X, Y, and Z in order in the house. And, you know, but I try to sit there and remind myself, and I'm like, who set the hierarchy? So where does it fall up here that we need to achieve this, this, and this? Like, who is that person that has it all together? And there's not. It's this person and this group of people or whatever think this group of people here is where they need to be at and what they look like and what they're doing. And then those group of people are on this person's list, so they're the B-list celebrities. The B-list celebrities are in support of the A-list. And then, just for examples, like, there's a hierarchy in it, in a sense of people compare themselves to different people at different levels.
Yeah.
But there's no real person or table in the hierarchy status of they've got it all put together. They've got the physique, they've got the money, they've got the house, they've got the cars.
Yeah. Except for that dude at the lake earlier who has the 5 GTRs sitting in his driveway.
Four GTRs sitting in his driveway.
He seemingly has it together. He had 4 GTRs, a motorcycle, a boat, 2 jet skis,
a Porsche, and then 2 other cars covered up, plus whatever was in his 4-car garage. Hey, by the way, if you need some videos or photos done of your vehicles, let me know, guy.
I need that black one.
Yeah,
that black one was clean.
That R33 was nice.
Clean. It looked really good. But anyways.
But it's just, I think it's interesting because we sit here and we try to, you know, set unrealistic expectations of how we should be, what we should do, what we need to look like in certain moments. We'll walk around and we'll puff out our chest and roll our shoulders back when, you know, our posture is always terrible in certain situations. I mean, more often than not. And when I mean in certain situations, we'll puff out our chest. And then, you know, you find moments where, you know, you go to the pool or whatever, you find yourself sucking in to make it look like your six-pack's a little bit better and you're not on the bloated side that day. You know, we do the things.
I actually am a victim of exactly that
we all
every
are.
time.
We all
because I am.
I look down and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I should not be here. Take your ass back inside.
Literally, it's all the time. Like I feel like I carry around like a constant state of bloat.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you know this. You know my gut issues. I'm not gonna sit here and dabble in that space, but like, do I look like that? No. Like when I wake up, obviously that's like the cleanest version of yourself each day. But then also before I slam shit into my body, like early in the morning, maybe even up to, you know, around lunchtime, I feel really good.
Yeah.
And then the more that I eat and drink whatever throughout the day, I just start feeling like shit. But I'm a victim of that too. Like I
creating
do
your
I
own
do
false
that,
sense of reality and perception for yourself. It's not even through a camera, through a lens, or to cast out to everybody else. It's in an everyday situation. You're doing it yourself.
Yeah.
And it's because of all the influence that we allow in to work with the demons in our head and on our shoulder on, you're not doing this, you don't look like this, what the fuck. And but again, like the hierarchy point, like there is no real like set standard, you need to be here at this point, you need to do this. Like there's no real person that we could sit here and point out. And a bunch of you are probably going to sit here and comment a bunch of people's names and say, well, so-and-so's a billionaire. I guarantee you they have mental struggles. I guarantee you whether they're a billionaire or not, they have financial issues because, you know, they make more money, they spend more money.
Right.
And then, you know, they don't have it all figured out. Their family life might not be perfect. You know,
and,
there are a lot of layers to it.
There are. And 2 points to that. Even the one who, like, if you make the argument that they are a billionaire, let's think about the habits it requires to become that.
Yeah.
You can't just be living like an everyday average person to be there.
You make your sacrifices, but those sacrifices weigh on you.
They do. And you know that they're carrying around heavy weight.
Carrying all around of them heavy weight. And most of the time, they're alone. Do they ever look alone? No. But they're, and, you know, sacrifices is another, you know, kind of little topic we can touch on, because every day you have to make sacrifices.
Yeah.
Both, you know, for yourself, for your job, for your own mental sake, for your physical sake, for your relationships, both friendships and you know, a little more sentimental and significant. You have to make sacrifices, but, you know, I don't think there's really a clear, like, cut and dry blueprint when it comes to that. And sometimes you can do too much.
You can. And, you know, to that point, I think what it is just your mental clarity around a lot of these topics. And, like, it doesn't just come easy.
No.
You have to work at it, and you have to reshape that image. And I'll tell you, it requires a lot of discipline. Discipline is, like, really the piece in a lot of this, where, like, discipline helps drive better behavior. Mm-hmm. And so for me, like, I think my approach to it is, like, I'll have days where I'm up here and I just can't get out of my head. And, like, by the end of the night, I'm sitting there, and, like, so much so I even grab, like, sometimes I'll grab my stomach and be like, wow, I work out so much to look like this. This is crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like that, it's that negative pressure that I'm putting on myself and the thoughts. And those are typically just moments in time where I'll be like, oh, I look like shit, or I look like a potbelly pig is one of my, like, go-to phrases that I say. And I always say it as a joke, but what it actually feels like inside is like, fuck me, kind of.
The knife stab and twist.
It is exactly it. And you know, then I go to bed and I wake up, right? And then the next day, I always remind myself, and it's just an interesting approach of mine that I've always had, is, you know, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I'm surrounded by good people, I'm not perfect, but I'm working towards being 1% better each day. It's little things like that where, you know, I look at what I have around me and I'm like, okay, I might not have achieved everything that I would have wanted to yet, whether it's physically, mentally, you name it. However, I am in a good place.
Yeah.
And you got to remind yourself of those things. And that stuff doesn't just come easy, though, because if you're still doing the same things every day, putting yourself into this negative feedback loop all the time, that stuff's not going to come. So you got to just do what works best for you. And I mean, I know what I do, and I know what I do to try to keep my mind poised and my body poised. However, I'm still a subject of, like, that negative pressure and, like, feedback and, you know, everything that, you know, lives around us.
I think we all have the struggle of, you know, just being human and whatnot. But to touch on a little bit of what you said, kind of foregoes into the next area of topic, and we can honestly ramble about a lot of these sub points, but, you know, to try and keep it a little more precise, is routine. And routine is very, I think, it's a double-edged sword. Routine is extremely easy, but it's also very difficult because it's just convincing yourself to do it. And routine is more than just physically doing something, like getting up, brushing your teeth, using the bathroom, making your coffee, like that. That's the baseline for what people think a routine is. But routine is also waking up and being accountable for yourself, looking yourself in the mirror and being like, okay, remember where you were, remember that you made it out of that low point, remember that it's not as bad as it was or as it could be. You know, there's that routine too. You need to create that mental, physical routine with yourself that is reassuring, reevaluating, and reassessing all of that. You know, those three right there are probably your key points to move forward and progress through any situation, any moment in time, and honestly just overcome whatever that you are allowing to hold you back and be stuck in that vicious cycle of listening to that demon and letting it win.
Letting it win all the time, yeah. No, routines, I mean, I think they're important. They kind of help structure days and weeks, and it's like, for example, if you wake up every day and you say, wow, my production this week at work, or my production on my schoolwork, or whatever it is, you name it, has been really low this week. I can't focus. Take a look at what your days look like. Are you getting up? First thing you're doing probably in the morning is grabbing your phone, jumping into social media. Are you doing things to set yourself up for success, like throughout the day? Are you fueling your body right? Are you eating well, staying hydrated? You doing all of these necessary things to help kind of keep you moving in the right direction. But if you know that you have a busy week at work, and like let's say you have projects and a bunch of meetings, and you're going to be
two totally different areas
talking a lot, right? Two totally different areas of work. But if you blend them together, where you got to manage that time right, and you got to stay poised and sharp. I mean, because what you're doing is when you're scrolling, your mental capacity is getting eaten up by all of this stuff that you're consuming. And what you're not doing is preparing for what is coming down the pike for the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. You have projects that you have to work on. Why are you not, getting outside? Like throughout the day, like if I'm going to be in my office all day taking meetings, and I'm going to have minimal time outside, why would I not go get outside first thing in the morning?
Yeah.
It's like little stuff like that to like kind of help yourself get set up for success. And me personally, like I know what I do every day, but oftentimes like people's schedules are all different. If you have kids, or you have a more demanding job, or you have a night job, you name it, like different strokes for different folks. But the thing of it is just do what works for you.
Yeah. And and like I said, it's more than just the routine of physically doing things and everything like that. I think started on like the surface level and the base level of routine. Start with checks and balance for yourself. Wake up and, tell yourself that today's going to be a good day. And if it ends up not being a good day, because that's okay to have those, roll with it. And then throughout the process, tell yourself that, just because today didn't go the way that I anticipated or I had hoped, that it's not the end of the world. I'm not a lesser of a person. I'm not, I didn't do things wrong. I didn't act out of character, whatever. It's all about, a lot of that sounds like we're talking about, mentality and, the way that you talk to yourself and communicate with yourself, which to a degree we are. But how often do we sit here throughout a day and have conversations in our head about every little thing that we're doing? So in a sense, everything is mental. Even if I'm having a conversation with you and sitting here in this setting, I'm working through everything in my head and having a sidebar conversation on, oh man, no, stop picking with your finger. You're doing this, whatever. Like, we all do it. It never stops. It's never ending.
It's normal.
But you have to subconsciously have another sidebar conversation with yourself that it's okay. It's not a big deal. Okay, you're fidgeting or whatever. Why do you seem anxious? Like it's okay. Just to kind of like recenter yourself, refocus. You got to have that routine too of being able to hold yourself accountable, but also be okay with the good, the bad, and everything in between.
Yeah.
So you can progress, so you can move forward, so you can carry on.
Yeah, speaking of routine, and I was sitting over here and I was like running through my head of the things that people like routinely do. And I'm going to ask you a question. I'm just curious like what your feedback is like around this. But like, for example, if we didn't, let's say, I'm going to just hypothetical, I went on vacation for 4 days and I didn't talk to you for 4 days, which would be really odd, right? And then I hit you up on that 5th day and I say, yo, how was your week? Why is it that either one of two things happens? It was, oh, it was fine, or it was all right, just like extremely vague, no feedback, whether good or bad. Or when you jump into it, it's negative. People are like, oh, honestly, my week was ass, or my week sucked, or work was shit, or honestly, I haven't been doing well. Like, I feel like people highlight the negatives only because, one, it's trendy to do that. Because like negative stuff gets more attention than positive stuff. And two, really, it's just easier to talk about.
True. I think
people have a hard time being vulnerable. So I just think it's interesting. I'm curious, like, what you think.
They do have a hard time being vulnerable, but I think, okay, so like I can only go based off of, we've been friends for a long time, whatever. I think it's based on a few factors. One being context, in which you send me that message saying, "Hey, how was my week?" And it's not completely out of the norm for us to go several days without talking to each other or whatever. With your travel and my work and whatnot, but. I think it has to do with context of like what I'm doing in that moment when I see it and am able to respond. Am I busy? Am I, in the better headspace or a not so good headspace? Do I have a lot going on, in my personal life or whatever? I think context is a big factor in the response that is chosen, whether it's to highlight the negative or not. And then I also think another step for that is, we tend to have that it's like the door is open. So you're allowing me, the door is open. You're allowing me to have that moment to where I can vent. And then it's just like a little light bulb goes off in the back and you're like, now's my time to let it all out and I will feel better. Subconsciously is what we always think. And I feel like it's just kind of like a subconscious doors open. Hey, they asked. It's on them if they don't want to hear it or not.
Yeah.
They should have been more I feel like that's subconsciously where most people go.
That's fair.
But I do think context plays a big key factor in it. Because I know there are some times when you'll text me and you'll ask me, how's it going, guy, whether it's been days or not. And I'm in a piss poor mood, to be honest with you. And I'm vague and bullshit. I'm like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. And I'm like an asshole without being an asshole.
Yeah.
And then there are times where I'm in a piss poor mood and it's not been a good day or a few days and whatever's going on. And then I'm like, you know what? And I just unleash it on you. I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah. So, and honestly, that's right. Like I'm really big on things just being momentary.
Yeah.
And like, because I know, a few people in, my life currently where you could hit them up and they would just be like, oh my God, my life's falling down around me. Like everything is so bad right now. Wah.
We've both been there.
And I'm like,
me more than you.
I'm just like, I hear you. Like, okay, how can I support you in this moment, right? And I'll support them, right? I'm not going to be like cold shoulder
push them away,
whatever. Right? At the same time, it just always leaves me questioning, right? And I only ask this question in this situation just for kind of a talking point because it's something that I always think about. Because when I find myself in the moment, I'm always supportive. I'm always listening. I oftentimes tend to fall on the objective side, and I do challenge a lot of thought. I've always been that way. However, I think it just leaves me questioning, like, when does the good get prioritized?
Yeah, I think
the
good is not talked about enough. We're so quick and easy and second nature to talk about the things that are bothering us, that are weighing on us, and how bad our week was versus highlight the good or highlight the moments of good or whatever, even if it's just momentary stuff, or brief little pockets of just a little bit of sunlight coming through on a really, really shitty, like 7-8 day thunderstorm.
I think that this would paint the picture of exactly my question. And I'm going to speak out of both sides of my mouth actually here, because one, I guarantee you, if the response goes how I think it's going to go from you, okay, I would laugh. If you said it, I would laugh. I'd be like, yeah, you're right. And then on the other side, I'd probably be like, oh, that was different. And I very much so like that.
Time out before you say.
Yeah.
We have been friends for 15 years or some shit now. And there are moments like now where I don't have a fucking clue what he's about to say. And I have no clue how to react or to prepare myself. And action.
Yeah. No. So let's say I'm coming to visit you. I'm going to be here next Friday. And first thing I do when I walk in the door, I dap you up, give you a hug like we typically do. And I'm like, so, D, can you tell me something you're thankful for this week? I'm just curious. Like, give me one thing that you're thankful for. What would you, like, how would you react? Like, with how things typically go, what would you say?
So a normal reaction, you walk in, we dap each other up, and you say that. I'm like, yo, what the fuck's wrong with you? Are you okay? Change your tampon and get over it.
So that is my point, right? And I'm going to laugh because I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, my pussy's throbbing. Yeah. But, like, and we would just joke and laugh, and we would quickly divert to another topic and then, like, start talking about what we typically would do.
mind you, we do circle back to that.
We do.
It's just not right then.
Oftentimes it's not right there in that moment, which I think is also important to highlight.
Yeah.
We do circle back to it.
Timing is a big thing.
It is. However, but like that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like
Yeah.
that's that piece that I'm trying to lean into a bit, because it's like, when do you
You're
hold
trying
space
to open the door
for a positive?
and then I'm like closing. Yeah.
But no, I'm not saying that to call you out. I'm saying it. Yeah,
we do. We both do it. Everybody does it.
Right. I'm with you.
Scenario based.
Right. But like that's when I guess that's what I'm trying to like.
Fucking dick. God, on our show, call me out like that.
Yes. No. I think that's what I'm trying to like point out. Is like, when do people hold like
space
for the positives?
Yeah.
Because honestly, maybe later on down the line, if we ever open up some sort of like a question or a poll like type situation to people listening, share your feedback, share your thoughts. I think that would be an interesting, topic, because it's like a lot of people get swept up in those negative conversations. When are we talking about the good?
Yeah.
Like, do you know how many times I've sat around from like with other friends outside of you where they're just like bitching and complaining about their family or their brothers, sisters, you name it, significant other, whatever. All I'm sitting there hearing is all this bad shit. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, I go back to them. So why are you with them?
Yeah, exactly.
Or like, what? Why are these people considered your family? Or what are you doing? Like, who are you surrounding yourself with? Because like, we're just creating this like negative environment. So like, why don't we talk and highlight the other things?
I think that goes back into routine too, because we're creating this routine of constantly highlighting and harping on the negative. And then, because I was actually just about to ask you, like you sit here and you have those moments in the morning where like, you feel thankful and blessed and you kind of highlight the positive and stuff like that. But there are also days and times and weeks where you're in that mood. You're in that mindset. Like, you're in it. Quicksand can't get out, right?
Yeah.
And how do you create routine in order to sit there and look at yourself through the midst of the chaos and the demons knocking and beating you down deeper into the quicksand and being like, okay, I'm not sick. I'm not, like, it could be worse. Like, I could, not have a job. I could not have any money coming in. I could not be in the best mental state. I could have, done things a little differently and it affected me even worse or whatever, made even more risky and threatening decisions to my financials and my mental state and my physical state and everything. Like, you don't sit there and even in the midst of all that, you don't have that routine with yourself to hold yourself accountable and reevaluate yourself. But be thankful and be grateful for the good.
That's an interesting point, actually. I've never really thought about that as being routine.
Yeah.
And like what that can kind of like domino effect, right? Yeah.
Constantly caught up in, you like to use this phrase a lot, everybody's just such a pick me.
A pick me.
A little pick me. But it's
bitch.
True though. We all are. We all have our moments where we're like, pick me, and then stuff gets so heavy and we start, holding on to it. And it's like we're just throwing it into our cart. And then the cart is just getting heavier and heavier. And we're like, whatever. There's good in there too, but there's a lot of negative. But it's because we choose to hold on to it. Yeah. And we choose to highlight it. And it's a part of our routine that we talk about it, that we carry it with us, that we're reminded of it. We allow ourselves to be fed from it.
That's interesting,
and, and then the cart gets so full that, we just create that routine of whatever, just throw it in there. And then what are you doing? You don't create that space, and you don't create that time frame to sit there and acknowledge the good, no matter how big or small. Personal, just you in your friend group, in your significant relationships and stuff with your partners or any of that at work, wherever.
Yeah. And I mean, we were just talking about family dinner earlier too, and like talking about that environment and that space. And it's like, we weren't really having much of conversation, but we were just sitting there talking and laughing and joking while
we do a lot of shit talking, but
a lot of shit talking. But
it's nice to do it when there's a good meal in front of you.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, it's just like stuff like that, right? Prioritizing environments like that, creating that space, I think, is part of it.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't do that.
But it's not even so like, and just for you guys at home too, it's not just about creating that space with other people. it is important to create that space with other people, but you can also create that space for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the more important part.
Yeah.
It is
honestly,
important.
I want to touch on that a little bit because, like, what do you do?
So,
like for you,
it's always interesting because I don't do anything by the book, and when I explain my process with stuff, people are like, "How the fuck do you?"
It's different.
Yeah, how do you keep your head on and be level-headed and whatnot with the way that I go about things? For me personally, with the things that I have gone through and how it's affected me, I tend to operate in the way that I would phrase it and explain it is more in the I don't really care, which sounds horrible. And me and him have had this conversation multiple times. It sounds horrible.
Yeah, I know. I challenge it a lot.
But
because
the reason why, or reasons why, is because I used to care too much. And over the years, I have just like slowly started to like break it down. So it's just easiest for me to explain it as like, I don't care. But I promise you, I fucking care about every little thing. But I don't care. And it's more so to try and like not care so much to a point to where it affects me in ways where I'm not eating and I'm getting sick and I'm physically losing less sleep or more sleep to where it's physically affecting me and I'm losing strength, I'm losing energy, and it's a domino effect like we talk about, right? So it's because I've always cared so much that I have to, in a sense, not care as much, so I care less. But that's only for not really having a better way to explain it.
Yeah.
In a sense. But, there are other things, obviously, if you want to sit here and go deep dive into everything.
Sure. No, I mean, I find it to be interesting because, like, everybody has their own routines or individual things that they do for themselves. I know mine here lately, as you know, a lot of personal things that have, changed this year in my life have
new developments
have driven me to, find some new things to kind of turn into or, put my time and effort into. But something I'd say is like even that has shifted, and I'll share something here today that like I don't know that I've really ever shared because it's more of a new thing, but like I'll venture out and I'll go journal in the mornings sometimes on a weekend, and I'll like go to a nearby coffee shop. I know that I love my coffee.
Yep.
It's my
coffee,
thing.
Energy drinks.
I know, it's crazy, the contrast. But no, I will go journal. I'll put an AirPod in, sit there, listen to some music, and I'll just write. And there's a few things that I do when I write is either I'll prompt what I'm about to write, where I will literally go into ChatGPT and say, give me journaling prompts, and then it'll spit out a bunch of ideas, and I'll just like answer the bullet points. If I feel pretty good, like that's my routine. Like things are going really well that week, but I still want to stay like consistent with journaling, then I'll use a prompt. Then if I'm having a week where like the feelings are heavy, I'll write on those, and I'll write like what's going on. Maybe I'll try to write down like what's triggering me that week or what's been bothering me, and just put the thoughts that I have free flying in there on the page.
Yeah.
And then the one that is really random that nobody knows, and this is something that if you go look in my personal journal ever, hopefully you don't do that, but something that I do is if I can't get my mind under control, good, bad, or indifferent, I write songs.
So ironically, I don't do it much anymore, but I used to like randomly, this was more so when I went through a lot of my stuff, I'd like be in the shower or just randomly like walking around, no music playing, nothing, just a cappella, write a random song and start singing it. I don't know why I did it, but ironically, same.
Well, because it's interesting, right? Because like I sit here and I think about it, and I'm like, all of this stuff has been going on. And then like, it's those weird weeks where like 2 days I'll have a good day, bad day, then I'll have 2 good days, then another bad day, then maybe a good and bad day, kind of mixed together, just a day, if you will. But I say all that, and like those tend to leave me like, okay, what's going on this week? And I'm kind of getting both sides of that spectrum a little bit. So it kind of leaves me a little discombobulated. So I'll put those thoughts down and I'll write songs, and it's all situational stuff.
Yeah.
there's one that I like wrote here recently that I like named the in between, because it's like all of these transitional periods of like being around people that I was around for so long and I'm no longer around, to my who I'm spending a lot of time with is changing. Like, how do I manage that time in between?
Yeah.
Because I was like kind of afraid of being alone a little bit.
Yeah.
And like I'm working on being alone, so I'm now forcing myself to get out and do things by myself and put myself in situations where I'm not leaning on other people to fill that void.
Yeah.
So like writing down words about that space, I didn't have thoughts like in-depth thoughts that related to heavier feelings. So what I did was write basically a song that was talking on all of the feelings that I was feeling about it. And it's a weird thing that I have recently picked up. I don't know what, when, how, or why I started, but I did.
So that to tell you guys that we're starting a band.
Oh my God. Band time.
No, I'm just kidding. Maybe one day. You never know. I do have a guitar upstairs.
You do.
And I sing a little bit. Not great, but I try.
I don't really know how musically inclined I am, but
You can play drums.
I could play drums. I could beat the shit out of something.
Hey, it might help.
Maybe a little.
It might help.
Yeah.
I think all that to say that, actually there was a point that I wanted to make and all that, but I might have lost it. It was something you said in the beginning. It's not important. Whatever. We'll talk about it later.
It's fine. I mean, we could circle back to
I'll
it.
forget. Anyways, like I said, most of these topics that we choose and their relation to, the everyday, and then honestly just our nature, we could ramble and go on and on and on. But we're trying to give you tidbits and just enough to, really kind of like challenge you. But at the same time, I don't know about you, but I'm using some of this to kind of challenge myself too.
Yeah.
Because I think, talking about routine with this episode has been kind of like our main topic point. Is we just get so caught up in the everyday and the muscle memory of, whatever it is, what it is, and rolling with it instead of stopping and taking a moment to. It's okay to feel this emotion. It's okay to embrace this situation. It's okay to feel the way that I feel about this. But on the flip side, it's okay to change the way that I feel about this, change the way that I think about this, and have a different perspective and a different outlook on it instead of just whatever, we'll roll with it. I don't have time.
Yeah,
you gotta make time.
You
gotta
do
make time for yourself.
I was gonna say,
the situation.
that last piece right there is like what's really important. Is because to me, if it matters to you, you're gonna make time for it. But I'm right there with you in the sense where like I am not one who loves complacency.
Yeah,
I think complacency is ridiculous. People just flatline. Like, what are you doing? You're not living. Like, I think maybe once a month I allow myself like a true rot day. And like by that, I mean, I'm sitting my ass on the couch and I'm doing nothing.
Yeah.
But with that though, I think like something that I always try to apply myself to is it's like the slow burn guide to engagement and staying engaged. And what I mean by that is to always like, don't cram your schedule full of stuff to always do, but put enough on the plate to keep you engaged.
Yeah.
For a certain amount of time.
A balance for what works for you, not just scheduling and physically, but honestly mentally. And that goes, with being able to show up for yourself and be proud of yourself, and being able to show up for yourself and sit there and say, okay, I've gotten a lot done. It doesn't feel like it or seem like it because my to-do list is never ending.
Yeah.
But you take that moment to appreciate what you've done and what you've accomplished and what you've finished and what you've made it through in the bad times and the good times throughout that week. And in even though your to-do list is backed up and never ending because it's always fucking nonstop, you still can sit there and have that moment to be like, all right, well, I have a little time for this. I have a little time for me. I have a little time for the things that are important to kind of make all that more worth it. and the chaoticness of it, seem more, even keel.
Yeah, someone who constantly rewards themselves for everything, I feel like you have a hard time experiencing like the positive aftermath, like that feeling that relates to it.
Yeah, that sensation that
right
you get
is like if you celebrate everything, and like, don't get me wrong, I think in certain situations, in certain relationships, celebrating the small things and like, the big achievements are really important.
Yeah, for sure.
When it pertains to personal goals and development, like, don't celebrate everything. Like, for example, like in my mind, if I were to make a to-do list on a Monday and I finished it by Thursday and I gave myself a goal to complete it by Saturday, and I'm like, oh yay, I finished my to-do list by Thursday. Like, honestly, in my mind, this was the bare minimum for the week.
Yeah.
Like what should I be doing? That's just a outlandish example of my point that I'm trying to make is like, condition yourself to celebrate the things that you've achieved.
Yeah.
And like, if we set a goal, right? Like even us for this podcast, even we set a goal out, something realistic for a few months.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can dap up. Yeah, we finally got here. We started. Now, what are we working towards? Like, what are we doing? What are we trying to accomplish? Whether it's something tangible or if it's something we're personal for us.
I think it's reminding yourself of the purpose that you carry and the purpose that you have, because I think a lot of times you talk about complacency, we just become complacent in who we are and how we are, and then our everyday, that we forget that we have purpose, that we have meaning, and that we have value, not even just to the situations and people and places around us, but to ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a huge dynamic factor to sit there and really kind of like break down for yourself.
Yeah.
Is you've got purpose, you've got meaning. It may not be to be this big grand scale metal band, or be a pop star, or be a movie star, or be a famous TikToker or social media person or anything like that. You don't have to be any of that. You don't have to be anybody. You don't have to be a name to anyone but yourself. We all want and would love to be the blah, 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 because we think that it's just going to provide us with everything else that we want. But we're just feeding ourselves a bunch of bullshit, let's be honest.
A lot of the
Nothing's
times,
ever easier just because you carry a title and you get a big paycheck.
It's not. And I think oftentimes people need to be humbled in that fact.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely
That's a different topic.
It is, for sure. I just think that, like, working for things is important. Like, I think the opposite end of this, the equation would be like, if I were to say, Dakota, I'm going to go run a 5K next month. I'm not a big runner. What was that? Was that the TV?
It sounded like something outside, like a dog cried or something.
Oh, my God. Anyways.
My dog didn't jump up, so we're good.
Yeah, we good.
She made it into the studio, by the way.
Yeah, she's sleeping.
She's not in front, but she's in the studio.
Over there. But no, if I were to say, I'm not a big runner, right? Mm-hmm. I'll do cardio, but never that extreme.
Yeah.
If I were to say, hey, I want to challenge myself to start running more, I'm going to train for a 5K. And then I go and run a 5K, and I say, here's my goal. If I don't hit that goal, that's still something to celebrate at the end of it, because like I'm in it. Yeah. And I trained, I worked my ass off, even if I didn't obtain the goal. So what am I going to do better next time? Let me try that. That's a different lane. But again, what I'm saying is like, that's something to celebrate. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's important to acknowledge the emotions and feelings. Like, if you finished, I'll circle it back. I finished my to-do list.
Yeah.
Awesome. I was productive this week. That's awesome.
Yeah. The praises can be small. The moments can be small.
They don't have to be dramatic.
Yeah. It doesn't need to be more than a moment. It does, if you want it to be more than a moment, if that's what works for you. If
it's your prerogative.
Yes. It's all in your timing and all in your scheduling, and it's what works for you in ways that works for you. All we are trying to do is shed light on what most of us men tend to just kind of brush under the rug, and then we're just dragging that rug and bag with us. I mentioned the grocery cart earlier. A lot of times it's an uphill climb with a trailer that's just loaded down.
Yeah. It's constantly. And then when it gets full,
1-ton trailer packed up with 5 years of 20-pounds of bullshit.
yeah, to literally that.
It's always something.
It's always something. And I think it's the more that it's full, I mean, you got to clear space eventually.
Yeah, you got to clear space, and you gotta. But I mean, even with it being full, and kind of to touch on the to-do list thing, like it's never ending. You're always gonna carry that weight with you. You're never gonna fully kind of like feel like that release is gone, and you have that relief of the weight is gone. I'm not carrying all that shit with me to a degree.
Right.
I'm not saying that you can't completely do that, but I say that to be like, your to-do list is always going to be so long. You're always going to feel like you could do more. You're always going to feel like there's something else to do and to achieve. Therefore, in turn, your trailer's still heavy.
Yeah, that's right. It's never really going to go away. It's
never going to go away, but it can be better. And that's our whole point. That's the whole gist of the episode is it's never as challenging and as bad and as dark and as hectic as we create it.
Yeah, exactly.
The perception and reality that we build up in our own mind is where we live.
Right.
Instead of right here in the moment, in
the
physical.
Yeah, like no matter how full your trailer gets or your cart gets, right?
Dumpy. Hey.
Yeah, we love a dumpy.
Perception, fellas. Perception.
I guess just like no matter how full that gets, just always remember, don't let the trailer break down the truck. Mm-hmm. Like let the truck always pull the trailer.
Hell yeah, we're reaching out to you construction guys, my people.
Exactly. So like keep the truck fueled, nourish it, take care of it so it can pull the trailer.
Actually, let's just go ahead and make that full-on analogy. Fellas, your truck is very important to you, right? You got to change the oil. You got to do the regular maintenance, rotate your tires, check the tire pressure, do all the things, right? You are your truck.
Clean that bitch every now and again.
You can't get your kids, your significant other, your tools, your groceries from point A to point B if that truck is not running and operational, correct? No. Or sports car if you're one of those guys. We like those too. You are your truck. Your body, your mind is your truck. You have to do the maintenance, take the time, put the love and effort into yourself like you do your vehicles, like you do your pride and joy, like you do what matters most to you in order to get from point A to point B, whether that be here you are and here are your goals, or here's the start point of your day, here's the end point of your day, start point of your week, start point of your, it's A to B. You got to be able to sit there and take care of everything just like you take care of what's important to you.
That's right. And this goes for all people too, even the ladies out there.
Ladies, your purse, your phones, your keys, your makeup.
The handbag,
the dumpies, ladies, you can relate to all this as well. I know we tend to talk about men and gearing towards men, but I think we're really only talking more so about men directly is because men tend to not be, and you ladies will agree with us, more upfront and open about a lot of things. Few and far between do men sit there and lay it all out.
Women do a good job with the emotions, bro.
Yeah, sometimes too good.
Sometimes too good.
Y'all do really well, and it's as a man, it's interesting because we see that, and it's not that we don't know how to do it. We don't know how to do it in the way that you do it to where it's effective for us.
Yeah.
It is.
And it's, you know what? Let's talk about this for a minute because I think it can be insightful for women.
Part two.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because you make a great point with what you just said, and I'm tracking on this. So the piece to me that's interesting is it's not that we don't know how to do it. Mm-hmm. We do know how. It's when we do it and we do let those walls down and we are vulnerable, it isn't what they're looking for. And then you get stabbed or shanked back. Yeah. And now what makes me want to do it again? And now, albeit this can go both ways. Right? Like I'm not saying that this is a one-sided argument. However, as it pertains to men in the Bay, the last I checked, I am one.
So I only know my experience, right? And in my experience, that tends to be the case. Is I may not have ever been the best at communicating. I'm working at being a better communicator now.
Yeah.
When I did communicate, though, there was always something that wasn't good enough about it. So what would make me want to communicate again?
I think obviously that's a whole different topic and tangent and episode in and of itself. But face value, to kind of wrap it up here, I think it's, as men, it's like you said, we do know how to do it. What I more so meant is what we don't know how to do it is situationally. Given the situation and context, not even just with our partner, we don't know how to do it for ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't know how to sit there and take the time to, other than in here, we have the conversations in here all day, every day, but we don't know how to sit there and let that be more than that. We don't know how to sit there and be like, okay, I got this going on. This could be better. I'm unhappy with this. Sitting there harping on the negatives, right? But then you don't sit there and you don't reiterate the positives and then the things that you did good and the changes that you did make. Maybe you did eat a little better this week. Maybe you chose to have a salad versus a burger at work or whatever for lunch. You know, whatever, small victories. We don't know how to do it in situations.
That's right.
What you're talking about, I would love to have a conversation on that. Stay tuned for that episode because we can go all day. Obviously, a little more trauma-based, not to call you out, a little more trauma-based currently based on recent events and everything. However,
later, Gators.
No, routine, fellas. Show up for yourselves. Take care of your truck. Take care of yourselves.
That's right.
Obviously, take care of what you need to take care of on a daily basis and what's your to-do list. But show up for yourself.